welcome to the Cheer Up Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Hunt, and with me, as always, is the wonderful and beautiful and thoughtful author, Cheri Swawa. How are you doing this morning, Cheri?
I am fantastic. I'm telling you, Kara, I absolutely positively love fall, so there is no way that no matter what the weather is outside, no matter what the temperature is, that I can't be happy because it is fall. And for our listeners, I have to say, you shared with me your amazing hot chocolate recipe. So I have to back up for 1 second because if you are into clean living, and I've had some issues I've had issues for a few years. And so one of the ways that I'm trying to work on bettering my health is cleaning up my eating, my nutrition. And you shared with me the most amazing hot chocolate recipe. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It is a new favorite of mine. Love it so much. So I'm wondering if you would be willing, I don't know if it's a secret family recipe, but if not, I wondered if you would share it in either our Cheer Up Podcast Facebook group or at the bottom of the podcast when it goes out, however that works. You're amazing with the whole technology thing. I don't understand it completely, but your hot chocolate is amazing. Amazing.
Oh, thank you. It's not. Yes, and it's funny that that you mention it because as you were talking, I was actually sipping some. I have a cup of it next to me.
Well,
It's
not my morning wake up, but it's my evening. I survived the day. This is my way to unwind. I love it. Love it. Love it.
And it is just, it's amazing. No, it's not a secret family recipe. And as far as I know, those who do clean eating and clean living and, things like that, they may already know. I think, I'm not mistaken, but I'm almost positive a functional medicine doctor shared it with me. And it's simply because, I love coffee, but I try to stay away from it just because, we've had that whole strong caffeine conversation, before in various podcasts. So, to me, coffee is a treat, so I may have a cup like once every 2 or 3 months and everything else. I absolutely love it, but it's just not the best for me, and everything else. And this particular hot cocoa drink is made with raw cocoa, and you actually make it at home with very easy, inexpensive ingredients with a pot,
Yeah.
and you just,
That's part of the fun, I think. I really think that's
yes.
It sounds crazy that I want more work in my life, but it's relaxing. I love it.
Isn't it relaxing?
Yes.
When I get up in the morning.
Take that long.
But yes, it is so relaxing because, and it only takes what? 3 minutes?
Yeah.
3, 4?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're only waiting for your,
Right. You only wanted to. Me, I like mine really hot, but I like all my beverages really hot. So 3 to 5 minutes and you're done. Like it's so easy, but so relaxed. I feel like Little House on the Prairie, or I feel like I'm Amish. I feel, and I say all that with love. I truly do. Like I'm not being disrespectful by any means. I personally love that era. So
Oh, absolutely. It gives you that home-ish feeling, I guess is what I think you're trying to say. And I can't think of the word, right? But it just gives you that. And the main 2 ingredients, like I said, is raw cocoa. You can get that from any health food store, or even more and more, I think regular grocery stores are carrying it now.
Oh, I think the one I'm using is just the plain old Hershey. It's non-GMO. It's 100% cocoa, unsweetened. It's wonderful. And I go back and forth. Sometimes I use the coconut milk. Sometimes we found this almond simply or simply almond or something brand. Oh, gosh, that one's really good too.
Oh, you know what? I'll probably have to mention that to my husband because, like, when we do it, and those are the 2 main ingredients, listeners. It's just raw cocoa and your favorite non-dairy milk because, dairy just regular dairy tends to cause inflammation in a lot of people, among, other things and, stuff like that. So a very, unless you have your own cow in your backyard, which a lot of people do, uh, and the milk is like, pure, and hasn't been tampered with, then of course you can use, your cow's milk or whatever. But for the most part, it's your non-dairy milk. And I had mentioned to Cheri, I'm like, I'm a coconut milk girl. Not everyone likes it. It seems like more and more people love the almond milk and or oat milk or all the other nut milks, but and everything else. But I'm like, I'm and so I make mine with coconut milk, and then it's about 3 or 4, maybe 5 other ingredients that go into it. But my husband is like you, Cheri. He's the almond. He loves almond milk.
Well, see, I love both. I really do. So I'm a both of you guys. I like to flip flop back and forth, and we use coconut oil all the time. So I love that coconut flavor. I love when I bake, which I don't bake as often, but when I bake, especially like my homemade banana bread, I use coconut oil, and oh my gosh, it makes it more moist, and it stays moist like all week long. Instead of, how like normally when you bake bread, like by day 2 or 3, it's like dry and gross.
Yes.
Yeah, no, the coconut oil keeps it moist. I love coconut. Everything about coconut I love. So I love.
This is why. This is why either, we have got to figure out a way to be next door neighbors. Because if I'm out of coconut milk, I can walk next door and be like, Cheri, I got a cup here. Can I get some coconut milk? Can I get some coconut oil? Because I buy coconut oil by the gallon. I am not kidding. You go in my pantry right now. It's like a huge 5-gallon thing, because like I love that coconut flavor. I love coconut oil, coconut flour, coconut milk. And I also, for baking, and for my breads and stuff, I use like almond flours, and things like that, just non-grain flours, again, for me. Unless you grain your own, you mill your own grain, then that's fine. It's just, staying away from the processed parts of the milk and the grain. So I don't want people to think that I'm against all dairy, and everything else. But if I had a mill in my backyard, I'll be eating a lot more grain. If I had my own cow, who I probably name, Susie, I'll be getting fresh milk, every morning. Because, you're eliminating that processing part of it, to where a lot of the other chemicals and all that other stuff is introduced into it, and it becomes adulterated, and it's just not as healthy for us. So that's all we're saying. For those who love dairy and grain, that's all we're saying. And my body tends to react a little different to grain. Like just regular store-bought grain. So I try to stay away from it, and that's why, I use the coconut flours and the almond flours or whatever. So, and everything else. So, but anyway, if you guys would love any more clean living tips, contact Kara and Cheri. Clean eating. So we've been, and we are nowhere near experts. You can just do an internet search, and you can find all sorts of stuff about what we were just talking about, and everything like that. So I was kind of like mildly kidding, but we those are some of the things we talk about often. It's just different information like that, and also there are a lot of autumn recipes, like baking and things like that. And that you can, use alternate flours, and stuff in. So, and this is the time of season I like to bake, so it's all good. But I will try to remember to post that recipe, either in a podcast group or via social media, or something like that. And you know what? One of the things I like about, like, as we were just talking about the Hakakoa, and I'm sitting here talking to you with it, and I have the mug in my hand, and it's still very warm. It's still actually hot, so I'm like sipping it, and I'm feeling the warmth just kind of seep into my fingers as I'm holding it on this chilly morning. It is the perfect segue into what we're going to be talking about today, and that's stress. It's a lot is the name of the series that we will be talking about here in November. And there's 5 Wednesdays in November, so it'll be a 5-episode series. And it'll be like, it's a lot part 1, it's a lot part 2, all the way to 5. But each one, we're going to be talking about different segments and sub segments, of it's a lot, meaning, just stress and everything that we just deal with like on an everyday basis, and different ways to kind of that, Cheri and I have kind of found how to deal with it. And, it's just very relaxing as I'm sitting here and I just feel the warmth. As it just kind of seeps into my hands. Is that the way,
Yeah.
to put it?
Yeah.
It's very comforting. Have you noticed that?
Oh, that I think I seriously had a major coffee addiction. I couldn't go anywhere, especially if I was in like an uncomfortable situation or a new situation or a stressful time in my life. I always had to have a cup of coffee in my hands because of that comforting feeling. But I have to tell you, I have to share that I'm trying to think, maybe it was the beginning of this year. It was either it was the beginning of this year. God called me and my prayer partner to a 40-day fast of giving up coffee. And I thought, oh, I'll be okay. I can have hot chocolate. I can have tea. I'll be okay. He broke that addiction for me. And now I can enjoy it without having to have it, meaning I can enjoy that comfort and that warmth and that feeling of being wrapped up in a warm cocoon or a warm blanket without feeling like, oh, I can't go anywhere without my blankie, you know what I mean, without my cup of coffee. That's how I used to be. And God cured me of that. And now I can just enjoy it for what it is instead of a have to. And there's such a difference. You're right, Kara. Just having that warmth and that comfort and that cozy feeling is wonderful when you don't have to have it. So yes, I completely 100% agree with you. I absolutely love that, especially on these cold mornings that are, really cold, but it's fall, so it's beautiful.
It
cold,
is,
but
right?
beautiful.
And it's just, I would love to know what I get these mixed up all the time, so help me, Cheri. Psychiatrist or psychologist would have to say about the feeling, the mental or emotional feeling that we get from warmth. Because to me, and don't ask me why, but like as this is, as my hand is like, around the mug and everything else, and it's, the warmth, it reminds me of a hug. Does that sound weird?
No, and I always feel like I'm wrapped in a cozy blanket, sitting on my couch with the fire in the fireplace. Yes, it's that feeling of security, that feeling of comfort, whatever that is for you. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And this is a side note. Psychologist does not administer medicine. Psychiatrist does. That's the difference.
Oh, say that one more time because I really need to know this.
Sure. So psychologist does not administer medication, but a psychiatrist can. So I believe that a psychiatrist is also a doctor. If I'm wrong, listeners, please correct me. But I believe that they also have a doctorate so that they can administer medicine. And psychologists, they have masters. They might even have doctorates too, but psychologists cannot administer medicine. That is my understanding. So if I'm wrong, listeners, please tell me. But I think that.
Because it's like, and I always tend to get those, oh my goodness, I get them confused all the time, and so I'm like, but either one, it sounds like from your description, should be able to tell me, well, the reason, Kara, that you're feeling.
Well, don't feel bad, because if it wasn't my degree in college, if that wasn't what I had studied, I wouldn't know the difference either. So.
I know, right? So it's like, and I'm like, years ago when I worked in the medical field, not the mental medical field, but it's like I used to, kind of like know this, and I'm like, or at least know some of the differences. And it's like now that I've been out of here for so long, I'm like, I can't even remember, Right. But if any of you out there are doctors in mental health, and you're like, oh, I want to add to this conversation because I know exactly what they're talking about. I know exactly what it, the feelings that we get from it, and how it can actually benefit us, that we would love to have you chime in. We would love, just email us at Cheer Up Podcast. at gmail.com. You can find me on social media. Personally, you can find me under Arthur Kara R. Hunt on Facebook. And Cheri is under Cheri Swalwell on Facebook, and Cheri is Cheri. You can find us both on social media and also the Cheri Podcast. If you just type in Cheri Podcast, we're on Facebook. We are also on all social media platforms. Yes, not all social media platforms because we're not on TikTok, but, some of the other ones. But like Instagram and Twitter, we're on there. We're on LinkedIn. And so you guys can find us anywhere. Just send us a message and just let us know and be like, hey, I know why, you guys get this feeling from that, or can I chime in on that, or something like that. And then we would love to be able to just chit chat with you and, be able to discuss this more from a professional mental health, aspect of it. But again, you can always email us at cheripodcast@gmail.com. That'll be the easiest way to get to us and probably the quickest, since, there are so many different social media platforms that we try to keep up with. So Gmail, the email will probably be a lot more direct for us to be able to get to. But, and you know what, Cheri, I remember, one of my doctors actually mentioned that, and she's not a mental health doctor. She's a functional medicine doctor. And we were talking about stress. And I remember her saying, there's just so many natural ways that we can get our body to calm down from stress. And she was saying, one of them, of course, and she was like, you like tea, right? And I was like, yes, I love, like herbal, the uncaffeinated teas. And she was like, so when you're drinking your tea, she was like, you take your time. And she said, you do feel the warmth in the cup. And when you sip it, she's saying the great thing about tea is that you can't gulp it like water.
Right.
She's like, you have to actually sip it. She goes, and one thing about that is that it gets you to calm down. She's like, don't do anything else while you're enjoying this tea. Your focus is on the tea. It's not on answering an email. It's not looking at TV. It's not reading a book. You're just sitting there holding the tea and the salsa, for example. You're sipping it. You're feeling it go down your throat into your esophagus. You're feeling the warmth of the cup. You're smelling the aroma of the tea. And with herbal teas, you get a lot of aroma. I just want to throw that out there. Yes, she's like, inhale the aroma and enjoy just the experience of the tea. She goes, then she went into the medical part of how that engages a certain part of the brain, and it actually helps calm you down. Just by something simple as just focusing on the tea and actually drinking the tea. And just actually enjoying it and the taste. So you're engaging all 5 senses. The touch of it.
Cool. That is so cool that you said that. That is so cool that you said that. Because last night when I was enjoying the hot chocolate, I was going to read a book while I did it, but I thought I can't really hold my cup and read my book at the same time because I can't hold both at the time. So I chose to just sit. And you're right. It's so, at first I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like not doing anything. This is crazy. I should be doing something. I should be scrolling social media. I should be answering emails. I should be texting people. I should be this. I should be that. No, I just sat there and held the cup and enjoyed the aroma. It felt it going down. Oh my goodness. So I was doing what your doctor said to do without even realizing I was de-stressing myself. Yay.
See there? And see how the Holy Spirit works as well? See, you were getting medical advice without having to pay for it. Who needs insurance, right?
That is awesome.
See there? Because you were getting it and you were just doing it. And I had never thought about that. I'm like you. It's like, well, while I'm enjoying this tea, let me answer this text. Let me write this note. Let me do this. Let me do that. And so you're not enjoying it. And that adds to your stress level without us even realizing it, and it was just something as simple as just enjoying that. And of course, it doesn't have to be tea. She just happens to know that I enjoy, if I'm not having hot cocoa in the morning, I'm usually having a cup of tea, so, and she's like, with that tea, just enjoy it, so it could be whatever warm drink you enjoy, including coffee. If you don't have any issues with coffee and coffee doesn't have any, you don't experience any negative side effects from coffee, it could be any type of warmth, but you're actually experiencing, you're actually enjoying it, right? And you're experiencing it with all five senses, with the touch, the seeing, the feeling, the taste, the smell. And, you're not just, you know what, Sherry, now that I think about it, when it comes to coffee, with the prices of some coffee at these premium coffee shops, it's almost better that you do experience it, right? Because it's like,
You know it.
because people will take their laptops and their phones, for example, to these, premium coffee places and everything. And of course, you're going there to get work done, right? But oh my goodness, after you just forked over $8 or $9 for a cup of coffee, it's like, I'm just going to enjoy this coffee.
Right.
Because, and with all the stuff people have have added to it, it's like, do you really enjoy that? Because, you have people who are very specific. Or I want half this, half that. They'll say, I want half this, half that, half skim, half that. I want a little bit of cream. I want a sprinkle of cinnamon. I want a little bit of paprika. Throw some pumpkin spice in there, and everything else. So it's like
Right.
this masterpiece by the time it gets done, right?
Right.
And you're paying a premium for that. Meaning, it's just not your cup of regular coffee, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
That I still think you can get for most places for like under $1. Right, or about $1.
Yes.
But when you're paying for like these masterpieces of artistic art that you're about to enjoy, it kind of comes to the point where like, I just spent a lot of good, to me, anything above $2 is good money. Okay, so that's why. Well, actually, anything above a penny, but it's like for a drink, and so it's like you pay a lot for it, and it's like, why not take the time to actually enjoy it? Enjoy all the flavors that you ask the barista to put together. Enjoy the aroma of it all. Enjoy the taste of it, and everything else. And, because, I don't even know if people do this, but I think foodies do that, right? Because they can tell you almost like all the ingredients that's in that cake that they just took a little bit of bite of, they could just, most people be like, oh my goodness, this cake is good. And then, for instance, like someone who's really, into food, like a foodie, could be able to, pick out what type of flour was used, what kind of butter.
Right.
The different, they go, oh, I got a hint of vanilla in here, or is it butterscotch, and they can pick all that out. And so, and I think we need to just do that and enjoy that more, and everything else. And now with the, with Werby technology regarding like premium drinks and premium coffees, we can do that at home.
Oh yeah.
And you can enjoy it and add your own ingredients. Like Sherry and I was talking, like within 3 minutes, we can make our own homemade hot cocoa, and we can tweak it as we like. Like Sherry said, she'll go back and forth between different nut milks and different things like that. And so you can make it, and you can sit there and you enjoy it. And I wish I could remember exactly my doctor's words about the particular parts of the nervous system that does, how it calms it down, and everything else. But it's probably a good thing I don't, because I'll probably mess it up. And I'm not a medical professional, but it's just that it engages a certain part, I think, of our brain and our nervous system, and it actually calms us down when we actually take the time to enjoy it. So if you're I like doing that in the mornings, and usually before anybody is up, before I do anything. And so I'm not necessarily stressed per se, but my mind will be like a locomotive sometimes. And if I get up in the morning, probably before I put my feet on the floor, I'm already thinking about 100 things that needs to be done that day, right? So your mind, your mind starts to stress and think about all these things, and they may not be bad. It may be all good things. It may be you're planning on taking the family out to something like an amusement park that day, and you're like, oh, make sure I pack the lunches. Oh, I got to make sure the cars, everything's out the car so we can put everything in. Oh, what about the blankets? Oh my goodness, what are we going to do about the dog? Don't forget his dog treats. It's like all those things, you're just like, you're thinking that wouldn't be stress, right? But it is. It's, in your mind, when you can't stop it, and sometimes my mind would just constantly go with everything that needs to be done that day, and sitting down and stopping those thoughts, putting brakes on the locomotive, slowing down the train, and just enjoying a cup of tea and actually enjoying it stops all that. Because what goes on in the brain affects the body. And that is why a lot of physicians say, mental physicians and mental doctors and medical doctors say stress is one of the main causes of debilitating diseases like cancer. And because it just adds a lot of, the brain interacts with the body. And so we got to slow sometimes that train down. In my case, it's more of like, I'm thinking of 100 things in like milliseconds, and how to do it. And it's like, no, Kara, that's not how it's supposed to work. And we're not built that way. As humans, we're to be, and as Christians, we are to rest in the peace of God. We are to make plans. We should make notes. And of course, you want to have an itinerary and a to-do list so that, you're not halfway into your trip and you realize you forgot something major. But we can't try to think of it all and get it all, compress it all into the first 2 to 3 minutes of the day. And so just that, drinking that tea like that is just an excellent way of just kind of getting the locomotive to slow down and your day to start to where, you can start off more peaceful instead of already stressed out before you even done anything. What do you want to share about that, Cheri?
Well, see, that is the other thing. That's one of the many, many, many things that I love about our friendship is we are so similar, and yet there are certain things where we're complete opposite but still similar. So you need it in the morning to slow you down in the morning. My mornings are my most productive time. So when I get up, I hit the floor, but I'm not stressed yet, if that makes sense, at least most of the time. Sometimes I am. Sometimes, like I've gone through seasons where in fact, I'm just coming out of a very stressful time this summer. It seems like any little thing that like wouldn't bother a normal person sent my blood pressure skyrocketing to stroke level. Like I was like living in that fight and flight mode 24/7. So any additional trigger, any additional stress put me literally in the stroke level range. And it scared me because I'm like, okay, something is obviously going on with me because I'm not just stressed. I'm super stressed. I'm hyper stressed. And so, but like I said, for the most part, so God has really been working with me this summer that if I don't take care of my body, if I don't take care of myself emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, there's not going to be a me around to take care of. And then there's going to be no mom for my kids, no wife for my husband, or at least not in the form of Cheri Swalwell. So I had to make some really major changes pretty quickly. But so for you like to do that in the morning. For me, if I don't take that time at night to slow down, to stop the train, I can't sleep because I'll go to bed, I'll put my head down, and that computer will have 50 windows open and I can't shut them. Instead of shutting them, I'll have 50 more open and I'll be laying there going, I got to go get this done. I got to go do this. I got to go do this. I can't wait till morning. I got to do this. I got to do this. So for me, what you do in the morning to calm yourself and get you ready for your day, I'm most productive in the morning. I get the most things done. And then I used to crash at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And I wouldn't say I crash anymore because I'm deliberately taking time to breathe. Like I am realizing I'm 50 years old. Yes, I'm admitting my age, but I'm 50 years old this year. And I'm realizing, you know what? It's okay if I decide to stop in the middle of my workday and eat some lunch. It's good for me. It's okay to do that. I don't have
Oh,
to start my
absolutely.
day because I have so many things that I have to get done. Like, I am realizing that rest and the balance between rest and work is so important. I used to, and if my doctor, if she was listening to this podcast, she'd be really mad at me for not telling her this, but I used to have chest pain all the time, regularly. And I figured that it was just, whatever, part of life. I didn't figure that it was all that serious. Since I have started to slow down and take that time to listen to my body, like you say, the chest pain is pretty much gone. And if it comes back, I realize that my blood pressure must be rising and I need to do something about it right away. So like yesterday, I have the to-do list never ends for everybody. And I'm not an exception. I'm just a normal person. So the to-do list is constantly there. But I decided, you know what? Monday night I worked a little bit, not a lot, but a little. Tuesday night I did my normal. Tuesday nights are my work late nights. And last night I had maybe a half an hour worth of things to do. And I made another list of things that have to be done by the end of this week. And then I said, I'm going to push back. I'm going to make the hot chocolate. I'm going to sit and I'm going to just savor. And then when I finished that, then I went to bed and I read. I like to read a little bit before I go to bed. I like to turn the screens off. I like to get away from the TV and I like to just sit in bed and unwind. And it's so much more restful and so much more peaceful. And so for me, I have to do it in the afternoons because my most productive times are in the morning. Like I used to say my brain shut off at 3 p.m. That's not necessarily true anymore because I'm taking care of myself better, but I still prefer to get all my stuff done earlier instead of later.
And it's just so amazing. And if I'm not mistaken, is it, oh my goodness, was it you or was it another listener? Was it someone we were interviewing one time? But does your doctor listen to the podcast? I think I remember someone saying that their doctor, sometimes listen to the podcast. So anyway, if Cheri gets a phone call from her physician, we will share that on a podcast. It's like, Cheri, get your tail in here right now.
I know. I do not recommend not telling your doctor about this, but
but just piggybacking off of that, I want to read something to you guys, and it's from a devotion called "Living a Life of Obedience." Okay, and it is living a life of obedience, number 6. So, and it's a simple little paragraph, and it says, even though I thought God had cured me of a lot of my perfectionistic qualities, when I'm stressed out, they creep back in. This past fall has been a very stressful time in our family's life. In the midst of the busy, we chose to add another family member to our household, a bearded dragon. It was recommended that we handle him as much as possible to help acclimate him to being held. Therein is where the problem began. Truth be told, I'm not the calmest when it comes to handling reptiles, so my stress level was through the roof when attempting to calm him down. Despite these odds, I thought things were progressing quite nicely until he started giving me the stare down, taking on a predatory stance and opening his mouth as though to attack all while fluffing out his beard. That certainly didn't help with my blood pressure. That is from the devotional Living a Life of Obedience, book number 6 from Cheri Swalwell. So you guys here on the podcast are getting a more in-depth sight, into what she talks about in one of her books. And stress, so many times, we think of stress as, the big things, right? I'm having difficulties at work, issues with my husband, my children are about to drive me mad, and things like that. But in this case, it was just handling a reptile. Now, to me, that's immediately stressful because I see a reptile and I go the other way. So I can't imagine. So, as a matter of fact, we were on our way into church yesterday evening, and some ladies I was with, and she was like, and this is kind of like the tone of her voice. She was like, "Oh, there's a lizard. Like she was just so excited, and it was just like someone would say when they see a butterfly, right? Oh, look, a pretty butterfly. She's like, oh my goodness, look, it's a lizard. And I turned my head to look, and sure enough, it was a nice sized lizard, and Kara went the other way. Okay. The other ladies went, oh, lizard, right? And they just, they went towards the lizard, and I went the other way. I gave it a wide berth, okay? Because now, as far as I know, lizards don't jump on people. I don't think they bite, or I don't think they attack. At least I didn't think they did. So I was just reading in Cheri's devotional, but that's a bearded dragon. So that's not a lizard, right? Am I right, Cheri?
Right. Right. And most bearded dragons are super, super friendly. We just happened to get, we didn't know what we were doing. And the only reason I became a reptile mom was because I love my youngest more than I love myself, because I was like, well, he wanted a, what did he want? Oh, he wanted a scorpion. We were like, no, we're not doing a scorpion, but maybe we'll do a bearded dragon. We were told they were really, really friendly. Well, we didn't investigate or check out any of the ones that were offered. We just were like, okay, we'll take that one. Well, that one happened to be the most aggressive one in the bunch. So we kept him for 3 weeks, and I read my receipt, and it said you could return them for any reason. So I called the place up, and I said, look, he's not sick, but I cannot have him in my home for 12 years or 10 years or however long these things live. He's going to give me a heart attack. So either you take him back, or I don't know what I'm going to do, because he can't live here anymore. And so I had to have double gloves in order to catch him and put him back in his box, because he attacked me all the time. He did not like me. I did not like him. It was mutual. So we took him back to the place, and they said, well, you can try again. And I said, well, give me a month to get my blood pressure back to normal. And then if you can help me pick out a good one, then I'll be okay. They picked us out. They spent 2 hours with us so that I could hold it there, so that I could get used to it. Every time I got scared, she was like, nope, it's not getting ready to bite you. It's just curious. They gave us the sweetest, most lovable, wonderful bearded dragon. Her name was Jewel. The first one was Potato, and he did get rehomed. He went to a home of people who actually knew what they were doing. So he was happy. We were happy. Jewel came to live with us. She was happy. So it was a very happy ending. But yeah, no, as far as I know, they do not normally attack you. He just happened to not like me, and the feeling was mutual.
See, but it's just something every day, right? This is a pet that you have in your home, and it's just you were handling it, and that causes stress. And I don't think as human beings that we realize sometimes the little things cause stress, just as much stress as something big.
Right. Sometimes that ripping little stress gets you harder than so sometimes when you have those big fight and flight moments, you can acknowledge them. People empathize. People come around to help. People are like, what can I do? But when you have that drip, drip, drip of the little stress that you never get out of, that's just as, if not more, dangerous to your health, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and relationally. Because when you're on that, like you were explaining how in the mornings when you wake up and your thoughts go on that locomotive, if you don't get that under control, and if you don't work on calming that down, then that's going to eventually affect your marriage, affect you as a mom, because you're not going to be present. I know, I can't tell you how many times, and I feel this is one thing that I'm trying to change about myself, although I have to say that our youngest is very accommodating and wonderful in this regard. But like, we'll be grocery shopping, and I'm trying to think of my list, and I'm trying to make sure I buy everything and get the stuff that's on sale. And, if I've got 1,000 things going through my head, and he's trying to talk to me and have a conversation, and half the time I'm like, excuse me, just 1 minute, I am listening to you, but what do you think of this? Do you want this for lunch? Do you want this for lunch? And then we'll stop, he'll answer my question, and then I'll go back to whatever it is he's talking about. But I feel so rude when I do that. but yet I'm trying to be present with him, but I also have the responsibility of making sure I stretch our grocery dollars, making sure I get everything on the list. So in 2 days, we aren't like, I'm hungry, there's nothing in the house. You know what I mean? So yeah, so we have to be really, really careful.
And you know what? That is so true. And and before we, kind of wrap this up a little bit, I kind of want to piggyback again off of something you were saying. I think one of the simplest definitions of stress that I have heard, and I know stress is like has a much, much more deeper definition medically, but I think the simplest definition I have heard is stress is doing something you don't want to do, right?
Oh,
So,
extended.
yes, it's like, and if you have a job that you have to go to in the morning, but you really don't like it, that's stress. And so that could be a big deal, right? Because you're 8 hours with people you don't like working with, or could be working against you, or trying to sabotage your career, or a boss who takes credit for everything that you do, right? So those are the big stresses. But even like recently, I was invited to do something, and it was, oh, yes, I'll be there, type of thing. But in my mind, I'm like, I really don't want to go. But the reason I agreed to do it was because of the people involved, and I did not want to disappoint them. Right. And because I love them with all my heart, and everything else. And I'm like, you know what? And it wasn't even a bad event. It was just that I knew I was going to be taking a time out of my day on a particular day that, I needed to, get things done. And so on the day of the event, or, and everything, and it was that morning, I'm like, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to do, I really don't want to do this. And it's almost like the Lord was reminding me, like, change your perspective on it. Right? You're going to be with people you love. You actually like them as well. Okay? So, there's some people you love and you don't like, but that's another podcast. Uh, you know, but it's like you actually love them and you like them as well. And it is what it is. You already gave your word. You already said you're going to do this, and everything else. And change your perspective. Enjoy it. Start looking forward to it instead of dreading it. And do you know that changes everything mentally? It's no longer that like fight or flight type of mode, right? Because it's like, what was I going to do? I had already committed to it. I don't like going back on my word, and I try to avoid it whenever I can. And it wasn't even something bad. It was just, the timing was off. And it wasn't just exactly something I really wanted to do, but it's like, it's something that, I could do. It would I'd be blessed by it, and everything else. And it's like, just do it and just change your perspective on it. And it went from dreading, which is stress, because I'm stressing about it, and everything else, to, you know what? I haven't seen so and so in years, and everything else. And, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And, that mental shift, just changing your perspective on it. And then, it ended up being one of the best days that I had in a very, very long time. Did you see what I'm saying? So it's almost like, it's those little things that I think the enemy can take to make us think that it's going to be, I'm going to just go there. I'm going to just, grit my teeth, grin and bear it, as they used to say, and everything else. But when we change our perspective on it, it is just such a different thing. And you get to go, you're more relaxed, you're more enjoyable. You don't kind of go in with that, I'm here, but I really don't want to be here attitude. You start, you have that joy, that cheerfulness that goes with it. You're like, you know what? It's happening, so I might as well enjoy it. And I think that is just, a key. Changing our perspective can help us a lot in certain situations where we doing something that we don't necessarily want to do, or at least you think you don't want to do until you do it, type of, situation. Just kind of, changing our perspective on it. Has that ever happened to you, Cheri?
Well, I am so glad you said that, Kara, because that is exactly what we're going to be talking about next week, is how our perspective and the way that God wants us to respond to stress changes everything. I am so glad that you brought that up. And I really hope that everybody comes back next week so that we can discuss that in more detail, because you nailed it right there on the head. And yes, it makes such a huge difference. I am so glad that you guys were here today. We are so glad that you guys are here today. I hope that you were able to get some out of the stress talk that we had today. And please come back next week, because we're going to talk about how just that one shift in perspective changes everything. It literally changes everything, not only inside your body, mental or physically, but it changes mentally. Well, I think it really starts spiritually, and then it goes to the mental, then it goes to the physical, and then it goes to the emotional. And we're going to unpack that next week. If you have any prayer requests or need encouragement or need prayer, please email us at cheeruppodcast@gmail.com. We would love to pray for you and with you. Come over to the Facebook group at Cheer Up Podcast and join that so that we can have some community building and just share together with other people, other like-minded people like us as well. Head over to Kara's website. Her book, Kite, Book 2, is out already. I'm so excited. It is amazing. You guys will love it. Please go check that out on her website, or you can check it out on Amazon too. But her website is Kara R. Hunt, KararHunt.com. And head over to my website, CheriSwalwell.com, CheriSwalwell.com. If you liked the snippet of the devotional today, that came from Living a Life of Obedience, and that's part of the Freedom series. You can check it out on my website. You can check it out on Amazon. I would love it if you would buy one, pick one up for yourself, pick one up for a friend, and get that encouragement that you might want or need. Jesus in the Everyday, it's a membership that was started just kind of to help you grow closer to God. The podcast helps with that. I have a YouTube channel that helps with that. And then this monthly membership is just something so that you have daily encouragement, daily prompts to dig deeper into your relationship with God yourself, 365 days a year. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can also find information on the homepage of my website, and there's also a link you can click where you can find out more detailed information as well. I would love for you to check that out and join the community. We are so glad that you're here. Come back next week, because we're going to talk about how that one shift in perspective changes everything. Again, so glad that you're here. Have a great rest of your week, and happy November.